Okay, so Mordechai gathers all the children to learn Torah because he knew that the koyach of the Jewish children is what's going to save the Jewish people. He gathered 22,000 Jewish children. We learned that in modern days.
Wait, also girls or just boys?
Yeah, girls and boys.
Really?
Yeah,
I
of
thought
course.
it was just boys.
Me too.
I never thought of just
I
girls.
don't think so. When the Rebbe gathered the children before the 6-day war,
I don't know, girls and boys.
yeah.
always the rallies, always girls and boys.
Wasn't that
The
the
Rebbe
first
also gathered 22,000 children before the 6-day war, and it was to. And after when the 6-day war broke out, the Rebbe said it was in the schus of the Jewish children who learned Torah on Lag BaOmer and gathered together. That saved the Jewish people. And actually, before the Yom Kippur War, no one even knew the Yom Kippur War was coming. But that entire summer, the Kotel was already in the hands of the Jewish people. It was like 5-6 years after the 6-day war. And the Rebbe said every day Jewish children should go to the Kotel and say the 12 Torah Psukim. And nobody knew why. And then the Yom Kippur War broke out. And then they found
What's a
out.
Yom Kippur?
Well, there's no time today, but the Yom Kippur was a war that happened on Yom Kippur. Lo Aleinu. I was 3 years old, darling. I remember it very, very well. And it was a very traumatic experience.
Did
I
you
never
guys
forgot
have
it.
to go into the...
Yeah, to run down to
Did
the
you
bomb
just-
shelters. Yeah.
Did you guys go to
We heard the
hotel?
sirens. I was very little, no. And lived very far from Jerusalem, so no. But, okay, children, let's continue the story about Mordechai. So when Haman sees Mordechai gathering all the children and learning Torah with him, Haman gets incensed. And he's livid. He's like, he thinks these kids are going to save the Jewish people. And he goes and he takes the Jewish children and he throws a whole bunch into prison. Now, some say that it was the 3 kids that he stopped with the psukim, that those were the ones he threw into prison. Regardless, Haman threw Jewish children into prison, which shows just kind of a warped, bad, evil person he was. Who takes children and throws them into prison? Well, Haman did. And Mordechai sits. Yes, that's your right. Yeah. Sorry.
We just don't have any kids in
So
our
we have, it's all right. We have some of the puppets that Shneir made, and we've been holding on to them, so they're lots of fun. So Mordechai sits outside, and we said it last time, I forgot, right? He was crying and screaming. Yeah. Firstly for Hashem to hear him, but also for Achashverosh. But who hears instead? None other than
Haman.
No, Queen
Esther.
Esther Malka. And she says, why is my uncle or cousin, whatever you want to look at it, why is he crying? And they tell her he's wearing sackcloth and ashes. And she says, oy vey, why? Go send for him decent clothes so he can come inside the palace to talk to me. And the messenger comes back. Now, children, the messenger she sent, by the way, was sounded by the name of Hatach. Hatach literally comes from the word to be cut off.
Wasn't his name Satach?
No, Hatach. And we can use Hatach here, because Hatach actually, according to some opinions, was none other than Daniel. According to some opinions, many hold it was Daniel. And she used Daniel because he was the only one that she felt she could really, really trust. Now, Daniel used to be Achashverosh's personal advisor. But when the decree was cast against the Jews, Achashverosh becomes very suspicious that Daniel, who was like the Rebbe of the Yidden also, would come and try to beg him to save the Jewish people and would talk reason into him. So what does Achashverosh do? He sends him to become in Queen Esther's palace. Oh, go take care of the queen. Like he didn't want Daniel near him, which was actually not a good sign for the Jewish people. Daniel, everybody knew of the tremendous miracle that had happened, 50 years earlier? It wasn't so much before, where he was thrown into the lions. And now Daniel was being sent away and made into Queen Esther's personal, advisor, attendant, whatever you want to call him. Not attendant, because she was a woman, but, there to take care of her palace. And it was not considered like a good sign for the Jewish people. Remember that the Jewish people, whilst they knew they have a sister in the palace, Queen Esther's there, they knew there was Mordechai, they knew there was Daniel. Mordechai told them, don't depend on any of this. The only one we can depend on is on the Hashem. And Daniel goes and he tells Mordechai. Mordechai tells him, go tell him. And he shows him a copy of the decree. Now, Daniel doesn't go directly to Mordechai and say, hey, Mordechai, Queen Esther sent me. Instead, he walked all around the town pretending to be strolling, and I bumped into Mordechai.
Why did
And
you do that?
because he knew that Haman's people are watching him, and he knew Haman would try to stop him. So he made, just by the way, I bumped into you. And they did, just by the way, Dafka spoke openly in the street, not hiding in the corner, so no one should think that they're whispering secrets. But Mordechai somehow manages to give him a copy of the decree, says, go show this to Queen Esther, tell her the time has come to go to Achashverosh and to tell him she's really Jewish and save my people. And Mordechai, the first time Mordechai just sends back the clothes. I mixed it up a little. The first time it's a regular servant, Mordechai sends back the clothes, and Queen Esther is shocked. Even if he didn't want the clothes, it's a big insult to send back the clothes that the queen had sent. Then she sends Hatach, who was really Daniel, and she says, I can't go. She says, please go tell my uncle that I can't come, because anyone who comes to the king's chambers uninvited gets killed immediately, and the one in charge of that is Haman. There's no way he's going to let me come. It's been 30 days. The king hasn't called me in 30 days. He used to love me so much. Now he doesn't want to see me, but he hasn't seen me in 38 days. He's going to call me any day. There's no rush. There's no point in trying to rush for no reason. Please, please tell my uncle that I should wait till the king summons me. And Daniel, it says, actually didn't want to go. He says, you are disobeying the Rebbe, like the big tzaddik of the Jewish people. I'm not taking such a message. And Queen Esther begged him. She said to him, please, please, I have no one else to trust. And so very reluctantly, Daniel does go to Mordechai, and he tells him, Esther refuses to go. She says it's too dangerous. She says now is not the right time. It's going to set off the king negatively. And Mordechai gets very angry, and he tells her, tell her, Al tedami benafshech, don't think that, I'm okay, nothing's going to happen to me, I'm the queen. Tell her you're in more danger than all the Jewish people. You're right under the nose of Achashverosh and Haman. They might find out you're Jewish, and maybe he'll want to kill you also. And remember, Vashti was queen, and that didn't save her. Like, why do you think that you'll be okay? And he says, go. There's no time. Actually, children, within the first hours of the decree, kids, we're told that across the world, actually up to 3,000 Jews were killed, all like within hours. It was a terrible, terrible decree. And because the Goyim couldn't wait, they're like, yay, the secret is that we're going to go have a war against the Jews, that they're not under the king's protection. Who cares? Why are we going to wait 11 months? Let's just do it now. And they went and they started killing the Jewish people. Now, Haman actually didn't want this to happen. He wanted that it should be in an organized way. Oh, you fixed them. Thank you. We love you. Thanks for your puppets. They're perfect.
That's my teacher. Told my teacher.
Yeah, you're the one who made them. Thank you. And I like how you colored. You used such nice colors, darling. I like how you covered all the white. And Haman didn't like it. He says, this is going to happen like this. I don't want that. It's going to be all chaos. I want to be able to, on one day, get rid of everyone. I don't want the Jews to mount their own army and mount a whole ability to fight back and all that. Eventually, children, Haman. Now, this dialogue between Queen Esther and Mordechai goes back and forth a lot. And yes, Esther, you hold for me Mordechai. And Kayla, you hold Queen Esther. And Hatach, not too close because then they can't see. Hatach, who was Daniel, kept going back and forth between the two. Now, who was watching with his spies was Haman. Children were told Haman
Killed him.
Went and killed him there and then. It was a terrible blow to the Jewish people. Daniel, who had had so many miracles done to him. Daniel, who the lions would not touch. Evil Haman was able to destroy in one shot Daniel, according to some opinions. I think others say no. And Hatach was not Daniel, but according to the Me'am Loez, it was Daniel, and that Daniel gets killed. And it is a terrible, terrible blow.
Why?
Why? Why? Haman says, I don't know what's going on between Mordechai and Esther. must be she's trying to repel the decree. She's trying to throw over the decree. And she's sending Daniel, who is Jewish, as a messenger back and forth between Mordechai and Esther. And right, and children, he was right, that's exactly what was happening. And Haman kills Daniel. Kids, it was a devastating blow for the Jewish people, and it actually says that the death of Daniel was a kapara for the Jewish people, that when a big tzaddik, meaning, I'll explain it, when a big tzaddik passes away, if there's a decree on the Jewish people, instead the passing of the tzaddik, it's like the decree was fulfilled. Meaning the loss of a tzaddik is such a huge loss for the Jewish people. It's as if the decree happened to all the Jews. It's called a kapara, like the tzaddik stood in place of all the Yidden. So it says that actually the loss of Daniel was a kapara for the Jewish people, and the Jewish people strengthen in their tshuva, in crying and fasting. And eventually, Queen Esther now has to send other messengers. We'll use her servant girl. Although I think it was a guy. It wasn't a woman. It was a man. But either way, it doesn't matter.
I'm from It's
okay. They're gorgeous. We love them. We love your puppets.
Just that one's old. That was like one of the first projects we ever did.
I still love it.
Like one month we do like 10 projects.
There's so many little details in it. It's the best Rebbe. And they come to, Queen Esther sends their messenger, and she says, okay, I'll go. Oh, by the way, Mordechai tells her, listen, the decree, Hashem will always save the Jewish people. The question is, will it be through you, Queen Esther, or will it be through someone else? Hashem can make Greek win over the kingdom of Persia, and then we won't be under the Persian rule anymore before Adar the 13th happens, and we can be saved that way.
Persia did not have Greek?
The Greeks, that was what happened with Bedtime and Teresh, darling. The Greeks were constantly trying to overthrow Persia, yeah.
So Big Sun and Teresh was from Greek?
No, they were from
Vashti?
They were relatives of Vashti. They all intermarried one country into the other. They were, Bigtan and Teresh were from Tarshish. That's why they spoke Tarshish.
It's like Tarshash.
Yeah. But either way, so she says, and he says to her, and in that event, you'll be at such a loss. You'll be stuck in the palace with Achashverosh and Haman and all. And Hashem will find a different way to save the Jewish people. And Queen Esther says, and Mordechai says, go get dressed beautifully. I know you never wanted to go and spend time with evil King Achashverosh. Now I'm commanding you to go put on your most beautiful clothes. Go and impress him, make him feel happy with you, and tell him you're really Jewish. And Queen Esther tells him, okay, lech kenoset kol haYehudim, go gather all the Jewish people, make them fast for 3 days and 3 nights. Actually, for 3 days. Some say it was a 24-hour fast, which meant it was a Monday, Thursday, Monday. Some say no, it was 3 days, one after the other, but they ate at the end of each day. Because you can't fast 3 days consecutively. So I'm not sure exactly how it was, but there's difference of opinions. Either way, she says, go gather them, fast and pray and do tshuva, and pray that I will find pleasure in the eyes of the king. And Queen Esther gets ready to go, and she too, me and my maidservants will also fast and pray, and she does. For 3 days, Queen Esther doesn't eat, she doesn't drink. She fasts, and all she does is, says she too puts on sackcloth and ashes. Even though she was in the palace and she locked herself in her room, and she sprawled herself on the floor, crying and begging Hashem to save the Jewish people. And at the end of the 3rd day, she washes herself, she clears off all the ashes, she takes off the sackcloth, and she you need that is supposed to come in, darling. And she please, thank you, Kayla. And hello. Oh my goodness, what did Leah give you?
Wait for her.
Yeah, not a very good snack before bed, and I don't really let upstairs in the room.
Wait, Ma. Today is so
Yeah, soon. Okay. So where were we? Sorry. So Queen Esther, children, gets ready to go. She had beautiful silk gowns that had, stand one second, when you have a story so I can't be interrupted. You can play with the puppets. It's very gentle. And, okay, darling, I'm really not letting you.
I didn't get a single one.
I'm really not letting you. I'm not letting you.
Mommy, is this Vashti? Can I hold it?
You can hold it, but I don't let now. And I know it's very lovely for you, right? But we'll discuss it later, okay? We'll discuss it later. And she puts on her bejeweled. No, darling, you already brushed your teeth. I want to make you brush your teeth. Please, no more about the wafer. It's disturbing. And she puts on her bejeweled clothing that literally had diamonds and emeralds sewn into them. And she wears her finest clothing and her finest jewels. And she comes to what? Not now. Afterwards, Chanel. And she comes to the palace. Now, children, there was tremendous danger in going to the palace, to the king's inner chamber, uninvited. There were 7 guards they had to go through. 7 duties. They had, like 7.
3 days ago.
Right. 7 sections you had to go through before you came to the king's inner chamber.
I love it.
Each one heavily guarded. And Queen Esther comes, and she comes with a whole entourage. She has like a maidservant on either side and another one at the back holding up her long train of her dress. And she walks with such confidence. Now it says Hashem made the Shekhinah shine on her face. She was always stunning. But she looked incredibly beautiful because now, after 3 days of fasting and praying, she had reached a very high level, the ruchnius, and it shone on her face. Although she was very weak, she was still fasting.
Actually, what I heard...
Esty, darling, when you do that, the finger keeps coming in the video. Just ignore it. And Yes, darling.
What I heard was Esther really had a very...
Mommy, it's okay, I can do it.
Yes, of course. Jewish girls are gorgeous.
No, she had like a greenish face before.
Oh, greenish, not Jewish. Yeah, it does say she had a greenish complexion. So because she was so sick of the thought of marrying Achashverosh, she turned green. Like she was always like needing to throw up. Either way, she walks with such incredible confidence that the guards are shocked. The guards are like, they don't understand. Like, is she allowed to do that? Now, they knew she's not allowed to do it. She knew she's not allowed to do it. But she walked with such authority. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm the queen. Move out the way. And so they just stepped out the way. They just she came and they just moved aside for her. Even though they knew intellectually that's not what they're supposed to do. Now, it was lucky that she did that till she reached the king. Because she could have easily gotten killed before she got to the king. And as she comes to the king, the last chamber, the doors fling open, and she walks in, and the king there's all the ministers there, and guards on either side. I remember the king Achashverosh had this high up throne, and he is, can we find the king? Do you have the king? Yeah, whoa! Schneer's king. And he stands there, and he suddenly looks up, and lo and behold, children, he sees Queen Esther defying the orders and barging into the throne room. And he becomes enraged. The anger inside of him just surfaces to like the forefront, and he is boiling over. And the courtiers look.
Let mommy hold it.
The courtiers look, and they can see the rage on his face. Now, the guards wanted to step forward and kill her, but because they were right in front of the king, they didn't know, are we supposed to do it without his direct command? Like, maybe that would come across as disrespectful. And even Haman, who was there, wanted to say, look, she stormed in uninvited. But it was so apparent, like for him to say that would mean like, oh, you were so stupid, you didn't notice that she stormed in. So even Haman was dumbfounded, he was dumbstruck, he couldn't talk. And the whole ballroom, or whatever you want to call it, the whole throne room, turns in utter shock. Everyone is horrified, and Queen Esther begins to hear murmuring from the guards on either side of her that I'm going to take that piece of jewelry, I'm going to rip that one off her
Why are
clothing.
you?
And the other one says, no, I'm getting the emerald. No, I'm getting the sapphire. And she can hear them start to fight over the jewels on her because she's going to be torn to pieces any second. And the king's face turns red. And he says, what's the irony? He thinks, my first wife, Vashti, I had to kill because she refused to come even though I called her so many times. And now this wife, I have to kill because she came without an invitation. And he sits there enraged and he turns his face.
Yeah.
Now children, the king's turning of his face, that was a sign that his anger has reached the limits, that he does not want to deal with this. And that was the sign for the guards to pounce and kill her. And children, it was literally on the last second. He suddenly recalls firstly, all in 1 second, it tumbled to him. The tremendous aggravation and pain he went through. For 4 years, he went through severe depression after Vashti was killed because he couldn't find a decent wife. And he was Haman did. Haman was the one to get her killed. And all at once, all the pain and all the aggravation surfaced up as he turns his face. He remembers first the tremendous anguish after Vashti was killed, which in a sense it's incredible. But Vashti wanted to destroy the Jewish people, but indirectly it was through her that Achashverosh remembers 1 minute, I'm going to go through this again now if I kill Esther. And all at once he recalls his tremendous love for Esther and how, as much as he was pained with the death of Vashti, he realized he's going to be so much more pained with the death of Queen Esther because he loves Esther so much more than he loves Vashti, like infinitely more. And as children, they were literally a split second from pouncing on Esther and guards from either side coming and digging their sword into her and literally ripping her apart and ripping her jewels and her fine silks. And at the last second, children, the king turns his face to her and suddenly gives her a big smile. And as the guards are about to pounce on her, he had a very long scepter. He takes the scepter and he touches it to her head, to her, like the tip of her head, to her crown. He touches it to, where's my Queen Esther? We're losing all the strength, all the puppets. No, that's Vashti. We know Vashti. Never mind. He takes it and he takes the scepter. We'll pretend she's Esther. And he touches the top of her crown, children. And with that,
I found it.
she bends her head and then she reaches up and she touches the tip of the scepter. And at that point, children, it says Queen Esther was ready to faint. She realized she was so near death, and at the last moment, Hashem saved her life. By the way, I forgot to tell you that while she felt the Shekhinah with her all along, when she walked into the king's chambers and she saw all the idols around her, the Shekhinah left her. And at that point, she prayed. I think it's on Kapitel Perek Chaf Bet in Tehillim, where she says, "Please Hashem, don't leave me. Please Hashem." Oh, what's the pasuk? I forgot. She says, "Please Hashem, don't leave me in my hour of need. Please Hashem, be with me." And at that point, it says, up in Shamayim, Hashem approved of her behavior. And with that, Hashem... No, darling, it doesn't disturb the video. Don't keep touching it. With that, it caused that Achashverosh to approve of her behavior. And he touches the scepter and it saves Queen Esther's life. And should we continue just a little more? Okay, just a few more minutes. And the king runs to her and she's ready to faint, children. So she had to actually put her head down on her maid servants because she simply had no energy to stand there to help her hold her up. And it says that not only that, the one who burst out crying, believe it or not, was none other than Achashverosh himself. He realized how close to losing Queen Esther he was. And with tears in his eyes, he tells her, Esther, my dearest wife, my darling, why have you come? What was so urgent that you were ready to get yourself killed to come to talk to me? What do you want? Up to half the kingdom, and it shall be yours. And when he said half the kingdom, he literally meant it. He said, I got 127 countries. I will give you half of those countries. I love you so much. With the one thing I will never do, he says, I will never give you permission to build the Beis Hamikdash. And it says when Queen Esther hears this, she really is ready to faint. She goes, oh no, why did he say that? Does he realize really I'm Jewish? Is this a sign that he's not going to save the Jewish people? And she says, if I ask him here and now, please, I'm Jewish, save me, save my brothers and sisters, save my people, he might turn around and say, I just saved your life. You could have gotten killed a second ago. Now you're asking me to save everybody else too? It was inappropriate, children. It wasn't the right moment. And Queen Esther had a lot of wisdom. And she realized, now is not the time to ask him to save my people. So she says, all I ask is that you come to the party that I prepared. And then she says, oh, and yes, you must bring Haman too. Now, the reason she did that, children, was a few reasons. First, she didn't want Haman to get suspicious that she's really Jewish, that she's trying to save the Jewish people, because she realized he would foil everything. And she wanted Haman to feel like she liked him, so that he won't suspect her. Secondly, she wanted to send Achashverosh such a message that you have raised Haman to such a high level that now, even our own private party, I'm required to come and invite him. Look what you did. You almost got me killed because you gave him the permission to be in charge of who comes to your throne room. She doesn't actually say those words, but it's kind of a subliminal message that she sends him, like a hint. Now I have to invite Haman too. And the king gets very unhappy that she's inviting Haman. He actually, at that point, loved Queen Esther. And at that point, she reminds him, it was all because of Haman that I suffered with the death of Vashti. Yeah, true, afterwards I got Queen Esther and indirectly kind of helped me. But really, I hate him in the depth of my heart. And now Queen Esther has invited him. And Queen Esther Dafka did it. She wanted to turn Achashverosh against Haman. She was very wise in doing that, children. And so what does Achashverosh do? He goes and he commands, he doesn't even tell Haman directly. He tells the guards, a simple guard, go tell Haman that Queen Esther has commanded him to come. And he has to come to the party that Queen Esther
Let's just pretend
has.
Mordechai.
Right. Now why does he do that? He wants to show him that, you two are under Queen Esther's command. You think you're so high and mighty? You think you're so powerful? You now have to come under, you're subservient to Queen Esther. So it was a little bit of like a back and forth kind of, I don't want to say fight, but Queen Esther very smartly trapped Haman slap bang in the middle and began already to turn Achashverosh against Haman. At the same time, she did a big smile. I'm so happy. And Haman is coming. And Haman was in a total dilemma. He was completely confused. Does she like me? Does she hate me? I'm not sure what's happening. Why now when I cast the decree, suddenly she risked her life to come. I heard that she grew up in Mordechai's house as a child. Who, is she really Jewish? No, but if she's really Jewish, why is she inviting me to the party? Why is she being so nice to me?
We'll use this guy.
And Haman was delusional, children. He allowed himself to believe that Queen Esther, and he convinced himself foolishly, Queen Esther really likes me more than Achashverosh. Actually, she wanted to marry me, but she got stuck with Achashverosh. And she really wants to have a party alone with me, but she can't because everyone's going to get suspicious. It's weird. So she has to invite the king, but really she wants to be with me. Children, that's how delusional Haman was. He was so haughty, kids. He was so high and mighty and haughty that he thought so much of himself that he simply could not see what was right in front of his nose. He couldn't see straight. And of course, he gets very happy. And the king says, we're coming right now to the party. No such thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to, like, King Ahasuerus says, coming right now to the party. No such time for Haman to go home and say, oh, I can't come. And he dafka schleps him there.